Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
We are live in the Loft 100 studios. It is the Big Biz Show. Hope everyone is having a great day. Good start to your week. I am Costa, Mary Bird Godwin, and we're the only two here right now.
Yes,
well,
we are.
That's a lie. We have the world famous, let's say hi to the Day Trader Trio.
Hey.
Gentlemen, best in the biz right there.
Best.
Greg and Sully will be back in after we talk with our market analyst, Howie Font. I asked them why you don't want to come in when Howie's here, and I guess there was something happened behind the scenes, and I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, we don't need to know.
Yeah.
We're on a need-to-know basis around here, so.
Some untoward business that I don't want to get into. But he joins us. He is our market analyst, our financial expert, Mr. Howie Font. Howie, how was Halloween in New York City? How was the S&M club you went to, the party? Just asking for a friend.
Say, and I usually like Nunya so much. You know what?
Yeah.
A friend of mine did watch the show and let me know that McDonald's actually does have the right to, the individual stores can fix their own ice cream machines now. So
are you kidding me?
I tested that out and it went.
There is no greater depression in my world than when I go through the drive-thru and that printed out sign says, sorry, ice cream machine is broken. So there's no soft serve, there's no milkshake, there's no.
Their Diet Cokes are the best also, I gotta say.
Their franchise agreements precluded them from fixing their own ice cream machines. They would be called tampering. They had to have like a McDonald's repair guy come out, and that's what was so slow about it. But that's over.
That ice cream machine union is so strong in America. It just shows you how far they reach.
I want to know how y'all recovered from the Yankees loss last week.
Howie.
Is it too soon? I was waiting a few days to ask the question.
I was told not even to go there, but she
I had to
just
do
went
it.
there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
First, you deprive us, you West Coastin people, of a Subway series, which would have been amazing and epic, and a ticket would not have gone for less than 10 grand.
Yeah.
And then you do a 5-game blow. No, it's not. It's next season. Well, in the fullness of time, the Yankees will maintain their record.
What happened in that last game, though? Gosh.
It was a comedy, literally, of errors. But again, I think the wound is closing for you. And Howie, you're right. 27 World Series titles.
Wow.
Is what the boys in the pinstripes have.
Is that the most?
Yeah. The Dodgers just won their 8th as the Los Angeles Dodgers. So again, ultimately, you have the scoreboard to tell people, hey, win your 27th, and then you can talk S, or you can gloat about being the greatest franchise.
Yeah, who am I
ever.
Growing up as a Padres fan?
It was a blowout. The sports bars were depressing, but I also don't like my Halloween mixed in with so much baseball. I feel like they're mixed. They're not exactly chocolate and peanut butter.
Sully and Greg are going to be back in after the break, and we're going to talk to you.
I'm really sorry about that.
About some stuff. But do market people like you? Do you ever see guys, men and women, or people who invest, their teams lose a championship, it affecting what their week like as far as what they're going to invest, what they're going to put money up and try to make more money with? Do you ever see a pattern?
More than sometimes the investment results. If someone's depressed because of, these guys also do sports betting, right? So I'll hear guys making parlays and all that and talking S. Yeah. And
all right, Howie, listen, stay there. On the other side, Sully and Greg will be back in. We will also talk about that wacky S&P as the Big Biz Show rolls on. Keep it right here. We are live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny Southern California. Thank you for being along here for the ride. Of course, the ride is The Big Biz Show. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, as always, glad to be with you. Costa, Maribert Godwin, our executive producer is Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully. Good morning.
I don't know how Mary sits up straight when we start talking.
Maribert Godwin.
Nobody's against you. I mean, we're not. I'm an independent. I've not decided who I'm voting for yet. I may not vote for anybody. I might just take the whole year off.
Just take it off.
Write in Howie.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's all right in.
A Howie Font write-in? Are you kidding me?
do it.
Howard, talk to me about these this wild call that Goldman Sachs put out the report last week saying the market's going to return 3%. If I'm not mistaken, doesn't Goldman Sachs do this sometimes? They it's like how I talk. Goes in here, vomits out here, where there's no real filter. It's ready, shoot, aim at this point. Does Goldman do that often? Because I sort of feel like they do.
Yeah, Goldman does have a little bit of a track record. I mean, all of them do somewhat. No one's a perfect weather forecaster, but Goldman especially has that economist syndrome. You know, they predict 10 of the last 7 recessions. And what they're doing here is saying, hey, the current economy, if everything stays as it is, then between the debt, the job market, the market concentration, the big companies are worth so much more than
impending stagflation.
Yeah, the impending stagflation, which I won't depress you with at this moment, is all going to make the S&P kind of anemic. I mean, 3% is well below. I mean, for the last 15 years, it's been about 10%, and since the 70s, it's been, or since the 50s, excuse me, the S&P has averaged 7%. So less than half of normal for a decade. No.
Howie, how does U.S. debt fall into this? Remember, you want to pull up the speedometer?
Oh, yeah.
U.S. debt
Anxiety.
USDebtClock.org. The speedometer is always a good thing to look at there as we see debt per citizen. How does the overall U.S. debt come in? Because I think that's going to be a piece of this puzzle.
Yeah, I think Mike and I spoke about it a little bit last week, but what happens is not a big implosion. It's a slow, dripping lack of spending power that we're going to have, and we're going to not be able to make investments for the future. So right now we're spending $1 trillion a year on interest payments. As that increases, we'll be able to do less and less.
Your healthcare costs per working adult is now up to $15,000 a year. Whether you pay it or not, but that's including hospital stays, including it's getting crazy. The other piece of this thing is we've got $35 trillion, tearing the bill of $36 trillion in national debt, but it's only 106,000 per citizen. That includes babies.
Oh, okay. I thought it was serious.
It's $272 per taxpayer. Okay.
Wow.
Well, when you think about each kid costs about $250,000 minimum to raise from 0 to 18.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. Well, listen, you're the one that are serious. I haven't.
What did I do?
Incur
Is
such
there
an expense.
a world when that goes the other direction?
Well, no, I don't think. But here, keep in mind, when you look at U.S. national debt, this is the credit card payment. I mean, oftentimes, it's also people investing in our U.S. bonds in long-term right. Howie, it's a little bit misleading because look you've got a big piece that's China invested in our debt, which is concerning for other reasons. But talk about that piece of it, Howie, because this isn't just money that we owe, like a credit card payment.
Yeah. So usually governments own U.S. treasuries, especially long-dated treasuries. They think it's reliable debt. They think it's going to pay out on time for 30 years, and there's no chance of default relative to every single other debt instrument. So that's what gives the U.S. economy and U.S. government its value as a debt provider.
Yep.
And it's also a way for people to store their savings. So in some sense, we use the strength of the government to just underwrite everyone's savings. If you have a lot of cash, you don't put it in a money market fund, or corporations don't, they put it in T-bills, treasury bonds. So that is part of it, but I don't think it really affects the overall picture. We should still be writing less debt.
The interesting part of this thing, if you want to go to the stock market side versus the economy side, valuations on stocks are through the roof, yet the fundamentals don't support that. That isn't necessarily cause for alarm, because it happens all the time, because the market runs on two emotions, fear and greed, and it's market perception. I mean, look, there was a time when Starbucks was trading at $13 a share meaning that their book value was worth only about 2 of their 300 stores at the time. So sometimes there's a disconnect. How we talk about that though, because the top-heavy valuations are concerning a lot of economists, because when the largest companies are so inflated, it means it's a bit of a bubble, right?
Yeah, so 2022 was the last time we saw this, when the Magnificent Seven, the FANG, whatever you want to call them, whatever the top companies are at the time, they become an outsized portion of the economy. And this happens because there's lots of passive investing, right? And when you invest in things passively, that causes more buying to these companies, and the largest companies are weighted more heavily in these indexes. So as more money flows into the market, it disproportionately goes to the top because those are the biggest guys, those are the safest investments, and it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy that takes place.
I think the reasoning of all this seems off to me because, look, the market's been marching on even during the face of inflation. And that means it means that, why would I think the market's going to go in a different direction? Especially when it looks like we're off-ramping inflation, regardless of what's happening globally. It still seems like things are getting better, at least the perception's that way. And then, of course, the election comes into it.
That's right.
Good answer.
Yeah.
No further comments, sir.
Yes, sir, may I have none.
I knew you were right also, just
I have
for the
a question,
record.
Howie.
I tee those up just for my own ego.
There's a chance that Elon Musk may, become the governmental department of efficiency, whatever it's called. And he said he'd be able to trim $2 trillion off the debt like it was nothing.
It puts us down to 230.
Thank you. Is that like the Titanic losing a suitcase?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It would be substantial. I mean, if we could show the world that we were serious about cutting, I think it's a great idea. And by the way, he's calling it Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. Or
Thank you.
And not to be confused with the Dogecoin, cryptocurrency that took.
No, it's important because it's very, very unlikely the whole political infrastructure is going to try and stop him from doing that. If he does something like he did at the company formerly known as Twitter and cut 60% of staff and with federal workers, that would destroy GDP because government spending is included in GDP.
Yeah.
But I would argue if we do that, it's better to ignore the GDP metric and use something like gross output, because obviously we'd be, it wouldn't be a good metric of the economy.
Last question. Are any of you afraid of AI, of artificial intelligence? Are you concerned? I should say, Mary, are you concerned about AI? What are you concerned about?
I'm not concerned that it's going to take everyone's jobs. I'm just concerned about people living lives. Like, did you hear this recent story about the kid that had a relationship with somebody that was all online and then he ended up committing suicide? No. It's just this.
You don't know what's real.
You don't know what's real, and it's being weaponized faster than it's.
Well, and of course the deep fake also along with it,
right,
which is AI. So, but don't you think that we are? I mean, much like when we talked to Steve Weisman, the scam man, as fast as they're trying to use the letter scam to try to send you money overseas, as fast as they're trying to scam you, we have our cybersecurity forces and I say forces, companies, not just the government. I'm talking about companies that they're spending their time doing, are trying to protect us. I've got a lot of faith in the fact there's a lot of smarter guys than the guys that are on the deep web.
Well, it's not we're playing checkers while they're playing chess. We're kind of neck and neck where if something comes out, we're able to, within a certain amount of time, a very small period of time, jump on it and say, okay, we took care of that situation.
Hey, Howie, where do you stand on AI? Firmly on its throat. Where do you stand on AI?
Well, it's worth noting that we were just talking about Elon. Elon says there's a 10 to 20% chance that it's Skynet and we all die.
Super.
That means we're living in the Matrix anyway. So it doesn't matter.
I think it's going to be a source of huge efficiency. There's going to be a lot of 1 or 2 person companies that are really enabled by these AI models. And it's like every other technology. We've had innovation before, and we know what it does. It's going to make people more efficient, make more things possible. And I think it's one of the reasons why Goldman's wrong, actually. I think you're going to have new companies come in and bolster up this growth, even if they think, today's companies are out the window. All
of this reminds me of when you and I started in radio and you started in radio, and we were talking about this thing called the internet. Because when we started on radio, we didn't have computer screens. We had newspapers, usually board shorts and a burrito, because there was no cameras.
A cart machine.
But I mean, then suddenly we had this internet thing, and suddenly the conversations are very similar to what's happening. And now I don't think we could live without it.
No.
And I think you've got to let it percolate a little bit. Now, is the time here? I think when you realize that we're depending on it, it's probably too late, and I think we're probably going to get to that point. Howie Font, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
You're the man, Howie.
Thank you.
Bye, Howie.
Today, a very special day because Mike yesterday spent a day at a dentist's office.
I did.
And
Fine
this of course is with our friends at Vivos and obstructive sleep apnea.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to see what has come of this.
I did my sleep test last night, and the stuff I learned yesterday from the great people at Fine Dentistry about everything else.
Are you scared to death today?
No.
Or do you feel like you dodged a bullet?
I feel like I dodged a bullet.
There you go.
Great.
You look thinner today. I got to tell you.
Wow.
Well, not now. Right before you did that.
We roll on another glorious day inside the Loft 100 studios. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, we always appreciate you being along here on the Big Biz Show. Costa standing in for Sully. Of course, the lady who makes me look a heck of a lot better and sound a lot better, Marybert Godwin, with me. Another edition of None Ya Business. Sully and Greg taking care of other things, but we'll hold down the fort. Hope everyone's having a good day. And as we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the greatest trio in the world of music today, the Day Trader Trio, the DTT.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I am.
I'm getting better at this.
Yeah.
You are.
Because I used to trip on Day Trader Trio. That guy just rolls off my tongue, Day Trader Trio.
DTT.
Throw a little Elvis or Robert Goulet into it. You can do anything you want in your life. Joining us right now, the chairman and CEO of Cingulate. His name is Shane Shaffer. Their ticker symbol is CING. Of course, their website, Cingulate CIN, there's my screw up, CINGULATE.com. Shane joins us via Zoom. Shane, how you doing, my friend? Always great to talk with you.
Doing very well. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I love it.
I always get to listen to you guys before, yes, you bring me in, so it's enjoyable.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, when we're live or what we're actually talking about before we go live? Because that's a huge difference.
No,
What happens when we're rolling or
The
not?
Day Trader Trio was rocking and rolling. So
Okay,
are.
that's good because it's like in radio too. It's the show. It's what happens in the breaks. That's the real show, and it's
every
also
mic's a hot mic, man.
yeah, and it's also the sausage making you never want people to see.
Right.
Shane, if you can, for the people that are tuning in for the first time here to the Big Biz Show, give us the genesis of what you're doing and give us kind of the 30,000 foot view of Cingulate.
Yeah, so Cingulate, we were formed in 2014. And our entire goal at that time was to really finally overcome the unmet needs in the ADHD space, so attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Yeah.
Our thought process back then, it was myself and Dr. Matt Brahms and Dr. Raul Silva. The two of them are psychiatrists. They're ADHD experts, world-renowned. And we became friends when I was launching these ADHD products at Novartis in the late 90s and early 2000s. We wanted to find a way to finally deliver a medication that lasted the entire active day.
Okay.
And to do that, you need a product that starts almost immediately and then lasts for the part of the day that you're actually active. So get me through that solid 12 hours of my day, from breakfast to dinner, from home to homework, from revelry to taps, as we like to say.
Yes.
We thought it'd be much easier. We'd just take a delivery system, take it off the shelf, put the medication in, ratio it, style it, and time it the right way. As all great plans go, didn't work. So we ended up building our own drug delivery platform, which we're now utilizing in 3 different assets. We have companies looking to us to license our platform. And at the same time, we're going to be developing a pipeline of products that overcome major unmet medical needs in multi-billion-dollar categories.
Shane, I don't want to scare you, but I think a gigantic rat is crawling around behind
Roscoe, and he got a haircut yesterday.
Oh, is it a dog? I'm sorry, my apologies.
The haircut. I think I've mentioned to you, I love when you're on because I have a daughter with ADHD that was diagnosed this past year. And as we've been going through her diagnosis, I am listening saying, I have it too. I'm convinced, self-diagnosed. But are you seeing that the needs for this medication are growing and growing rapidly? I am, but I think now I'm in a echo chamber of ADHD conversations online. But are you seeing that out there?
Yeah, I mean, the market continues to grow, and the fastest segment of that market is the adult market. By far, it's grown at about a 10% CAGR. So we're seeing the fastest growth in the adult segment. At the same time, about 4 to 7% of children and adolescents, so that's 17 and younger, continue to have ADHD. They're properly diagnosed and treated. They're treated at a very high rate, about 80 to 90% after a proper diagnosis. The adult segment historically has been treated at about a 20 to 30% level. So they've been diagnosed and they're not being treated. That's starting to change. The psychiatric guidelines called the DSM-5 have really done a good job of helping practitioners identify ADHD in the adult market. There's a great group called APSARD, which is the American Professional Society of ADHD and Related Disorders. They're coming out with, really for the first time, a set of guidelines on the proper treatment of adults with ADHD. And those are starting to come out in January of next year. Great group of clinicians there that are working on that. Jeff Newcorn, Tom Spencer, Greg Mattingly, Ann Childress, really great folks, and a larger team too that's working to develop those guidelines. Another segment that continues it's been under-recognized for such a long time, this is pertinent to you, it's females. Females have what is primarily inattentive ADHD, whereas the males typically have more of the impulsive hyperactive along with the inattention. So I think as clinicians, everyone's doing a better job of diagnosing it and then treating it where appropriate. Well, all treatment should include some psychological treatment, but at the same time, medications are critical for most.
Well, I want to touch on what you said, that it was the fastest growing, I guess you were saying about adults. And do you think it's because things are triggering it, like lifestyle choices are triggering it later on in life, or is it just not diagnosed and missed when for me, I feel like I've had it my whole life and I just wasn't diagnosed because I wasn't the typical kid running around the classroom, and it presented differently in me. Yeah, go ahead. It
completely presents differently in different, again, there's 3 types of ADHD. There's primarily inattentive, and then you have the hyperactive impulsive side that combines with that in certain patients. So there's 2 key factors. One, typically when the really good docs and they're treating the children, they look over at mom or dad and go, oh, and by the way, we probably should run you through the process too. The children come in, and then the adults end up also going through the sequela of diagnosis, and that's where a lot of it's found. Additionally, when you look at what really impacts life, and that's where my perspective always is look, if people are doing okay, I may have a touch of ADHD myself. If you're doing okay, I've never been medicated. Maybe I should, but I'm not. And you've done very well in your life too, without medication. So it really depends on that impact. If you have ADHD as an adult, you have double the rate of losing your job. You have double the rate of divorce, and we already have a 50% divorce rate. You have a higher risk of incarceration. You have a higher risk of motor vehicle accidents. You have double the rate of accidental death as an adult. So it really can impact a lot of things, and when those impacts become truly problematic in life, I think that's when proper medication or proper medical care gets involved.
He is the chairman and CEO of Cingulate, their ticker symbol CING. Shane Shaffer with us here. Shane, we have about 30 seconds left. If you can, kind of give us the financial runway for CTX 1301.
Yeah, we've had a great 2 months. We've raised over $12 million. Our earnings release is going to come out next week, so I can't steal that thunder.
No, we understand.
But really, what's important is we've had a great month of capital raise. We now have a runway well past our NDA submission, which is planned for the middle part of next year. Our final study is it's a fast fed study, so you test the medication on food and off food.
Yeah.
It's at the highest dose. We did it once earlier. There's no food effect, so we're expecting similar results there. Our phase 3 trials are closed. That data is being locked, and we're really excited to get all that information out into the public over the next quarter or two.
Doing great. Oh my God.
An NDA.
What a relief to so many families out there.
Yeah.
The work that Cingulate is doing. Shane Shaffer, Chairman, CEO. Their ticker symbol CING. Shane, always love it. Can't wait to get you back on here on the Big Biz Show.
Sounds
Speaking
great.
of that, we roll on after this.
Big Biz Show. BigBizShow.com. Nationwide, coast to coast. Have you guys discovered Wordle yet?
Oh, yeah. What do you mean yet? It's like 2 years old.
It's pretty old, but I still haven't gotten
Well, I remember I just discovered pickleball this year too, and I play it every single day. Shane Shaffer is the chairman and CEO of Cingulate. Cingulate, of course, is talking about ADHD. Imagine that, Mary. He's your favorite guest. I had a great conversation with Shane and his team today to understand better what these guys are up to. But Shane, good to see you, man. And I'm going to start off by saying,
hello, everybody.
Hello.
you know, I chased down a lot of the stuff about your company, and you guys are moving the needle already. And I guess the question that you have to ask for those of us who aren't in the biopharma space is, how are you doing it? I mean, how does it really work? I mean, what's the secret sauce, in as much as you're allowed to tell us as a CEO of a public company?
Right. So, I mean, obviously, what we started with when we began this company was, you know, it's easy to identify the problems, right? Everyone can say that's not going well, that's not going well. Or in the case of ADHD, the number one complaint is always these products just don't last long enough, followed by they don't start fast enough, followed by I got to take a booster dose every day to stop the side effects or the crash or the rebound, or because guess what? They don't last long enough. Mm-hmm. So when we started the company, our initial thought was, you know what, we're going to find a delivery technology. It's already out there. We're going to license it. We'll bring it in. We'll then give the appropriate number of doses, the right milligram strengths, the right ratio, the right style of release, and we'll have this product on the market in 2018. Well, as I look at my watch, I realize it's 2024. And it's funny how you're so optimistic at the beginning. And the good news is number one, we've solved the problem. Yep. We're now there. We're ready to file our new drug application in 7 or 8 months and get this product to the market. But what we had to do, this is back in 2014, was step back and say, guess what? This drug delivery technology does not exist. There is no way to use a tablet and precisely deliver 3 doses of the same or different medication, deliver it in unique ratios, at unique styles, and at precise times. And using the PTR platform, which we've developed, that's exactly what we can accomplish now. So that's the platform and the technology. You know, it's something we'll use in ADHD, but it's also something we're going to be utilizing for various future assets that we develop. As you can see here, in anxiety, to an ADHD, insomnia is another exciting category that we'll move into. And the last comment I'll make is, yeah, Wordle's fun.
Yeah.
See,
Don't make me text you every morning.
But do you do connections? Okay.
Well, if you start beating me and if you accomplish it in one, I'm out. I'm playing it.
So Shane, you just mentioned there anxiety and ADHD, and I think I have both. I take something for anxiety that I have been for the last 12, 15 years. But then I'm just thinking,
it's called tequila.
Yep.
See, I stopped doing that. So, but now you're saying that maybe you could treat them both at the same time. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because that could be a big differentiator for you.
You know, one of the big things, and again, psychiatry is such a fascinating field. I mean, the brain is our most important organ that exists in our body, and it's the one we know the least amount about. Now, when we talk about comorbidities, so that's basically saying, you know, okay, I have A disorder or A trauma, and then B is a result of A. So those are comorbidities. And what we found in a lot of areas, especially ADHD results in a lot of people, depression. It results in anxiety. It results in obsessive compulsive disorder. It results in, you know, a lot of different other areas.
All the above.
So when a psychiatrist, you know, sits back and says, okay, look, let's diagnose the patient and look at all of their entire life, what's impacting their overall performance in A, B, or C, what they found a lot is ADHD can impact those areas. So number one is let's make sure we're getting the right diagnosis. Like a lot of times in females, depression is misdiagnosed. It's actually ADHD. And if we treated the ADHD, we could potentially help the depression, or vice versa. I mean, not everyone has ADHD, believe it or not. So if, maybe it's depression that's causing ADHD. We got to make sure we hit the right target first, treat that number one element first, and then from there we may see benefits.
Hey, Shane,
not
to interrupt, but I have ADHD, so I'm going to interrupt you. I have a question. Do you think, you said not everybody has ADHD, and what struck me on that is it overdiagnosed? Is it overdiagnosed, or is it just people that use it as an excuse, or what is your professional opinion? I mean, you're at the tip of the spear here.
Yeah, so I'll say this. Is there overprescribing of ADHD meds? Absolutely. Now, that said, when you look at the overall epidemiology of ADHD is not overdiagnosed. When you look at individuals, could you say that individual is being overtreated? Yes. And look, it's always much sexier to say something's going wrong than it is to say, I got it right 99.9% of the time, but I missed it this 1/10 of the time.
Right.
So to take a step back here and be clear, ADHD is actually, it's very well understood, and it exists in about 6 to 8% of children, about 5% of adults. And when you look at those numbers, and then you look at the prescription data, the number of patients that are being treated is far lower than the number of patients that actually have the disorder. Now, can it be overused? Can it be abused? Absolutely. And that's why I always say I don't want anyone to be on any product that we develop if they don't need it. And if they don't need it, they should be on something else or on nothing at all. Hopefully that's clear.
Shane, it is. And I guess my question is can you dodge this bullet without medication? I mean, is this something that you've got to resolve this thing medically? Otherwise, you're suffering from a number of different comorbidity or different maladies as a result of ADHD.
So, I mean, I've been told a time or two that perhaps I have a touch of ADHD. And I've never been medicated. So the answer is, yeah, it all depends on the severity of your disorder and the impact of that disorder. So let's say I have mild ADHD, and I've chosen a career path that is not one where I sit at a desk all day. I'm not an accountant. I'd be a very bad accountant. So again, you can choose a career that potentially you don't need to be medicated. So if you're, again, mild ADHD, you have a different type of career, an active career, you may not need to be treated. It all depends on the severity and the impact it has on your life. If you have severe ADHD, odds are you should have definite psychotherapy treatment as well as medical treatment if it's severe. But that, again, is the determination of your psychiatrist.
Shane, for you as a company, what is the addressable market?
So
how big is it? It's got to be enormous, right?
The ADHD market is a $22 billion billion a year market.
That's unreal.
And people have always said, well, that's a huge market. How are you going to go about it? It must be very crowded. I always smile and go, this is the most non-crowded market I've ever competed in. With Lipitor, we had 7 competitors. With other products, a lot of competitors. I don't have a single competitor in ADHD that actually provides a patient and a physician what they want. Entire active day efficacy. It starts working in the morning and it lasts their entire active day. No boosters are needed. 60% of patients today need a booster dose. That's 60% of a $20+ billion market. That is my low-hanging fruit. It's a great opportunity. More importantly, I can help patients. I'm really excited about being able to do that. Well, here's that PTR platform. It's really cool how it works in terms of the way we build the tablet from the inside out.
Yeah.
So we add drug at the various opportunities that we need to, and then based upon the thickness of that erosion barrier layer, that's what you see coming on right there. That determines exactly when the medication is going to be released and introduced into the body.
Wow, and this can be for children and adults, correct? And do you titrate the doses up to see how much they need?
Yeah, it's really funny. When you look at ADHD, every therapeutic issue is different, but we'll talk just about ADHD. So in ADHD, we're going to have 8 dosage strengths at launch, which is what physicians have been begging for with every new product. Give me the ability to optimize my patients. If you don't have at least 6 dosage strengths, you basically leave patients in limbo. So when you look at patients, again, children, adolescents, and adults, and those are the 3 segments of ADHD which we seek approval for, What we'll be asking, physicians to do is, you start low and then you optimize. So by having a lot of dosage strengths, we can make sure for a patient that has moderate ADHD, we can start them at a very comfortable dose and then maximize that dose to their best efficacy. Plus, if a patient has severe ADHD, we can go to the higher level, which is not available today through a lot of different products.
Hey, Shane, before I let you out of here, commercialization plans we just touched on last time. Is this something you're going to take to market, or are we going to get a bigger company you think takes you out and takes that part to market? We will.
So our strategy is twofold. Number one is we have inked a commercialization agreement with a go-to-market company. Their name is Indegene, Indegene. They are the best go-to-market company in the United States. They have everything they need, the Cingulate needs, I should say, from Salesforce, market access, physician support, medical information, pharmacovigilance, whatever they need from a go-to-market perspective, they have. And we can then bolt onto it. That's step one. At the same time, too, as we get closer to NDA approval, we have a lot of ongoing conversations through our BD&L team to potentially co-commercialize this product with an additional company. Think about it this way. ADHD is really a two field force type of focus: psych, neuro, and then primary care and pediatricians. So we're looking at opportunities to potentially co-promote. Regardless, we'll be prepared to commercialize with Indegene, and that brings back the greatest returns for our shareholders.
Shane Shaffer, Chairman and CEO, Cingulate, stock ticker CING. You're going to be seeing more of him. Shane, thanks so much, man. We got to get you in studio here.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Sully. Thanks, everybody.
I'll be a guinea pig. I'll be in the test market. Maybe all three of us need it.
Big Biz Show. BigBizShow.com. We'll see you momentarily.
In over 175 countries and all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network, as always, to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, we say thank you. From the Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, Costa Mirabert, Godwin, Greg Todorov, and Sully.
Well, we continue to talk about the importance of this long duration energy storage and why it's important to get a working grid in order that may not be completely dependent on what we have right now. We've been talking to Eric Dresselhuys for several years. Eric Dresselhuys is the CEO of ESS Inc. Of course, New York Stock Exchange symbol GWH, and of course, you joined us once again and nonstop with this company, Eric. Every time I look up, you guys are taking some more ground. I got to ask you, how does your life change with the election, one way or the other? Does it matter?
Well, I think it'll change, but I don't think it matters. How's that? So, the thing about our business is some people come at it and their love of our business is around decarbonization and the energy transition. And the other half of the people love it because it builds jobs and it builds products here in the U.S. In the world of energy storage, we buy almost everything from China. So if you think about how the election might play out, even if Trump wins, it's going to become tariffs and domestic manufacturing, and if Harris wins, it's going to be green energy and domestic supply. And so we feel like it's kind of a win-win.
I think what's interesting is you bring up the U.S. made versus China made. We were just talking to Howie Font regarding what's going on in China in terms of how it could cause inflation here. Is that a big deal? I mean, is that a critical deal, or do people care? Because for so many years we didn't care, regardless U.S. made versus China made.
I think people care now. I think people are really starting to pay attention to this and starting to say, where do my products come from? Where does the money flow? Where's the supply chain come from? And it's not just that you're buying from China. In the world of batteries, the minerals are being extracted in Africa or in Latin America under kind of, very specious conditions in some cases, both from a labor perspective and from an environmental impact perspective. So I think people are starting to really pay attention to where these products come from and how do we do it in a more sustainable, not just environmentally sustainable, but economically sustainable way.
Eric Dresselhuys, CEO of S Incorporated. Their ticker symbol is GWH. Eric, you mentioned China. How closely do you have to guard your proprietary secrets with this incredible technology you've been able to develop?
Yeah, very, very closely. I mean, one of the things that we've been watching from the beginning is how do we ensure that our products, which are really built on American innovation and simple ingredients. We use iron, salt, and water, right? So it's not, we won't get any proprietariness out of the ingredients we use to make the product. Our value and our proprietariness comes all from the engineering and the technology that we build here. So it's super important that we keep that very close to our vests. We build everything in the US, so it's not just that it was designed here, we build it all here, and we're shipping it around the world to Europe, to Australia, all over the place. And at this point, we've just avoided the Chinese market.
Now, do you think that'll change at some point? Because I got to believe, in terms of business, that could be a win for you. But is it just that's the type of thing you just want to leave off the table? It's not worth the trouble.
Well, I think someday is a long time out. I think for right now, we've got all we can handle with the demand that we're seeing come out of Europe, come out of Australia, Latin America, Africa, other parts of Asia. There's just an immense demand growing for these products. And so I don't think we're really pushed to go to China as the only place that we could go get our product. And if we did it, we'd want to do it under very controlled conditions and do it in a way that we ensure that we don't sell one battery to China.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, in terms of technology, when we first started talking to you a little over a year ago, is technology moving at the speed of light in terms of you have to keep up in terms of what you're selling because things are changing so quickly, or have things stabilized a bit?
Well, I think things are stabilized a little bit, in the world of anything to do with infrastructure. And this is true of the grid, but, it's true of highways and things as well. We're always looking to innovate, but people really value proven. They want to know stuff works. We're building this for 15, 20-year plus operating life. And so it's critical that they know when they go to push the button that the thing will come on. So we feel like we've got a great go-to-market kind of head start over some of the other technologies that are out there. And if we just stay on our track, building products, improving performance, lowering costs, doing the things that you normally do as you scale a business, that it'll be awfully hard for people to catch us.
So Eric, is there a pinch point that's obvious to you in terms of countries or mandates or just things like elections and such that could get in the way of the progress of this? Because at the end of the day, this is good for everybody.
Well, I think the train's left the station. I think the thing that's really changed over the last year and a half is that people were always saying, hey, we've got to clean up the system and we've got to make it better. But this focus on affordability and reliability is really great for us, because at the end of the day, if we go talk to consumers and ask them what they want out of the electricity system, the first thing they say is reliability, right? I need it to be there when I need it. And the second is, I'd like it to not cost an arm and a leg. And so you can't get to those two things. You'll never get to the clean it up part if you don't cover reliability and affordability. And that's the problem we solve.
The question has always been, where do we see long-term energy go in the next 10 years? It's only the next 10 years. What do you see over the next year and a half? Because it's moving at the speed of light now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's multiples and multiples of growth. And these things, again, because of the nature of infrastructure, this isn't kind of a web-based software thing where you can just push a button and it turns on. So the growth happens over time. But the good news is that, that creates kind of a flywheel of momentum that is sustainable over longer periods of time. So it's not typically something you see kind of flare up and it's a hot thing for a month or two and then it passes for the next fad. This is something that as you get going, the momentum builds around adoption, demonstrate value, and then it just kind of builds from there.
Eric, thanks. I know you're crazy busy these last couple of weeks. I appreciate you being so generous with your time. Eric Dresselhuys is his name. Of course, S Inc. stock symbol is GWH, and of course, long duration energy storage that is sustainable. And he's been a regular.
Every time with the hurricanes that just passed, whenever we have a natural disaster, I think about guys like Eric Dresselhuys, and if things were different in some of those communities, how much quicker everything come back.
Big Biz Show. Stand by. We're back much more.